Thomas, a 35-year-old Irish tourist, traveled to West Virginia to visit his girlfriend, entering the United States through a visa waiver program that allowed him to stay in the country for up to 90 days. However, while in the United States, he suffered a medical issue, an injury to one of his legs, which doctors stated would prevent him from traveling at least until it was sufficiently rested. Unfortunately, this recovery period pushed him just 3 days past his 90-day limit. The issue with this began when Thomas, while staying in a hotel with his girlfriend, experienced a mental health episode that led to another hotel guest calling the police. This brief interaction with law enforcement resulted in Thomas being handed over to immigration authorities, and despite agreeing to be deported immediately, he was held in ICE detention for 100 days, all across 3 different facilities. Thomas has since spoken publicly about his detention and the conditions he was forced to endure. For example, he reported being given dirty underwear with dark stains on it, a ripped jumpsuit with what appeared to be blood stains, and a filthy mattress upon which to sleep in an unsanitary space infested with roaches and rodents. Detainees were only given a single roll of toilet paper a week, with access to toilets that would only flush 3 times per hour. He also described being fed food which was questionable and at times made him feel sick. As has been documented in other ICE facilities, there was also a lack of proper medical care and outright medical neglect, with guards routinely ignoring detainees' complaints. According to Thomas, guards would often respond to medical concerns by saying, "I'm not a doctor," before ultimately walking away. This is not shocking. Of course, we've all known about the deplorable conditions in ICE detention centers, even under supposedly liberal administrations like that of Obama and Biden. But what makes this especially concerning is that these were the conditions that Thomas endured during the end of the Biden administration and into the early months of Trump's second term until his release in March. This means that Thomas, a tourist who entered the country legally, was subjected to these conditions before the current overcrowding crisis and before DHS oversight offices were gutted by Kristi Noem, offices that were supposedly tasked with protecting migrants' civil rights and ensuring humane treatment, a phrase which I use incredibly generously. Which leads to the question that if these were the conditions before oversight was dismantled, before overcrowding, before fascists implemented their ethnic cleansing campaign, then what can you expect now? Well, we don't have to guess. Already, deaths in ICE custody have surpassed all of 2024's total. Within the first 6 months of 2025, there have been 12 deaths reported in ICE detention. A detention center in Texas is reportedly failing to provide sufficient water for detainees at the facility, mostly families, leading to children and adults having to fight over what little is available. Some ICE detention facilities are operating at 200% capacity, leading to detainees being held on transport buses for 24 hours or more. And when they are finally admitted into these facilities, they're forced to sleep on concrete floors in freezing reception areas. And then there's the case of Alligator Auschwitz, where detainees are being held in what is essentially a tent city in the Florida heat during summer, in swampy, mosquito-infested areas. The food, according to detainees, has contained maggots. Water, cooling, power, and other critical utilities are provided through mobile infrastructure that is vulnerable to adverse weather conditions. Failure of this infrastructure would likely result in injury at best and death at worst. So now I have to ask, is compliance in our best interest? When the Gestapo storms into your community, is it worth it to comply? Do you believe that it is worth surrendering yourself to these people who will put you into these concentration camps? If it was already bad under so-called liberals, are you willing to let fascists subject you to even worse just because you were looking for a better life? I'm just simply asking the questions. You have to answer these for yourself. As for me, I already know what my answer is, and it echoes Patrick Henry's proclamation. That is, give me liberty or give me death.